Hello, everyone. Welcome into another episode of Capturing the Game, the Game Within the Game podcast. I'm your host, Desmond Jones, and today we got another fantastic guest. But before I get into it, I was going to remind the audience that Capturing the Game is sponsored by Capture Sports Agency, where our CEO and founder is Chantel Smith Jones. Now that the introduction is out the way, let me go ahead and tell you about this guest that we got coming on today. He is a former European pro. He is currently a former European pro and coach. He's currently teaching assistant. He's also the author of the same name, different game. He is no other than yours truly, Sean McCaw. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Doing
Appreciate it.
good, man. Good to see you. Good to finally meet you, man.
Thank you, man. I've been following what you guys do, and as soon as I knew that the book was almost coming out, I was like, okay, I gotta reach out, and hopefully they'll let me get on, and I'm pretty glad that it worked out.
Oh yeah, same here, man. So I definitely got to get my hands on a copy of the book, which I know we're gonna get into and talk about
Uh,
it. So, but yeah, man, go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Sean McCaw, as was mentioned before, and I am just a normal guy who played professional basketball over here in Europe for 13 years. I currently still live in Germany and live here with my family, and so I've been here for since 1995 in Europe. Period. I played in 6 different countries, and yeah, and I got to Germany and stayed here, and now I'm just living here a normal life, normal guy, and wrote my first book, which was just to help athletes with their process of their journey of coming over to Europe to play basketball. And I think there's a lot of information in there that will help a lot of men and women. And that's the only thing that I'm doing this for, is just to help someone for the things that I didn't know when I first came over.
Yeah, that's that giving back aspect
Yeah,
because when anytime you step into something new, there's so many things that you just didn't know before you got started.
exactly.
What are some of those things that you didn't know
Oh
before you got started?
man, I tell this story all the time. It's incredible because when I first came over, okay, I'm an old head now, so I just turned 48 years old, and when I first came over here, I was 22, and I thought I knew everything, and I knew absolutely nothing. When I first flew over, I played in Austria for my first 5 seasons, and when I first flew over, the plane landed in Vienna, and I thought, okay, I'm playing in Vienna. Yeah, I knew Vienna. I had heard of Vienna, but didn't know anything else about the rest of the country. I was woefully uninformed.
Right.
And so I get off the plane, and the coach and one of the players picked me up, and everything's good. We get in the car, we start driving, and I notice we start driving out of Vienna. And if you know anything about Austria, it's like there's like Vienna, Salzburg, a couple of big cities like that, and then there's mountains. So we start like heading out of Vienna, and I'm like, where are these guys taking me? And so, sure enough, we ended up about an hour and a half later in a very small town called Kapfenberg, and that's where I played my first five. No, I'm sorry, my first 4 seasons. And yeah, so I didn't know anything, and that's part of the thing that I stress in the book, just to inform yourself, know what you're getting into. Um, I didn't know anything, man. I didn't know about contract structure. I had an agent, but he didn't tell me a whole lot of the things that I would need to know later. Or I knew they spoke German, but I didn't realize it was a different dialect than Germany German. And there were just a ton of things that I was totally unaware of.
Yo, that sounds like a crazy experience already, and we just getting started. What was your experience like playing overseas?
Man, I gotta say I was very fortunate. I was very lucky. Even the most painful or the worst moment of my career led to something bigger. And I always like to think that things happen for a reason. And my first year when I was in Austria, I was injured. I think about 2 months after I got there, and a serious injury. My first serious injury that I've ever had, just normal
Um,
bruises, ankles, stuff like that. I had before, nothing serious. And I broke a leg in a game. I broke my leg in a game,
wow.
and so I was out the rest of the season. So basically, if you know anything about European basketball, you know that in your contract it says if you're out longer than a certain amount of time, then you will get some kind of compensation. And pretty much it's bye bye. We're going to put this band aid on you so you can get on this plane and you back home, right? So of course that was in mind as well, and of course I was done for the season, and we had just started. I think we had played 11 games, and I think 2 games in the European Cup, something like that. So of course I was thinking, okay, I'm done. It's a wrap. I'm about to go home. So my game was an away game. They put me in the ambulance, drove me back to my city where the team doctor was waiting for me, and they operated right away.
Wow.
The next morning, I'm still out of it, not really realizing how serious this is. And I'll never forget the team coach, whose father was also the manager or the pretty much the big boss. He came in, and I'll never forget this. He comes in, he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Man, I was devastated, you know." He comes in, and he says, "Look, we're going to offer you the same contract you have this year, for next year. The only thing you have to do is to stay here in rehab." So back then, very often there was a winter break. And it's not so much like that anymore, but back then, Americans usually went home during Christmas. So that meant that I couldn't go home for Christmas, and I had to stay there the whole year during the season and rehab. So um, I was thinking, hey, hmm, what am I going to do? Am I going to go back home? I'm going to have to pay for all this rehab. I ain't got no money. I was making $1,200. So that means I had made a total of $2,400, which was pretty much gone by that time anyway. I had been there for 2 months, so I didn't have anything saved or anything like that. So the question was, do I go home and have to rehab a really devastating injury, or do I stay here? And for me, there was no choice. I spoke to my agent, and he was like, "Take the deal." And I was like, yeah, I'm going to take the deal. So I
Yeah.
ended up staying, and through that process, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit long winded on this answer,
No, you're
but
fine.
through that process, I really got to know Austria. I really got to get to know a lot of people. I started to learn German because I had literally time on my hands, and so it really became a situation where I really fell in love with the place that I was, and that made it easier for me to transition. So I like to think that out of a negative comes a positive, and if it hadn't been for me breaking my leg, I probably wouldn't have stayed in Austria after that one year. I had visions of grandeur. I wanted to play in Italy. My Italian agent was like, "Yeah, you put in good stats in Austria, and we'll get you over to Italy the next year." And that's where my focus was at that point, because of course, in Italy you make more money. And so if I hadn't have broken my leg, I would have just stayed there for one year. I would have bounced to somewhere else, and who knows how my life would have ended up. But through that, I met a lot of great people. I had a pretty great career in Austria, and then I moved on after that. But that was the positive that came out of a negative.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Uh man, did you feel comfortable with them like operating on you when you was in Germany? I mean, when you was in Australia?
Austria,
Yeah, Australia, I'm sorry.
man, I tell you what, I had no choice.
Yeah.
I mean, I was literally, I, I literally went up, got a steal at half court. It was all by myself. There was no contact, anything like that. Took my 2 steps, jumped off my left foot, and it just snapped. So I am literally on the
Wow.
floor in immense pain, and this is the first major injury I've ever had. And yeah, they had to bring the stretcher on, and get me in the ambulance. So I literally had no choice. Like we went back in the ambulance, and there's a funny story about the ambulance. So sorry. So I'm in the ambulance, and I speak no German, and my friend from America was there, and she, of course, didn't speak any German either. She was just visiting, and the IV that they have in my arm for the pain medicine slips out. So I'm trying to communicate to the guy in the ambulance
Oh no.
who speaks no English
Right.
that this IV is out, and I'm feeling everything like bone to bone scratching, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. So, so we're trying to communicate this, and then we finally kind of, with his broken English and my zero German, we realized that he is not allowed to put the IV back in. So this is about a half an hour once I start feeling it again.
Oh no.
We drive another hour of me feeling everything because the IV fell out and this guy is not allowed to put it back in. So then we get to the hospital. Of course, I'm just done. I'm finished, right? And the team doctor is there. I didn't know him very well because I didn't need him until that point. Um, and basically, he's telling me I have a choice of what to do. I can get a cast, um, but the likelihood of me breaking again would be higher because I'm bow-legged. And then the other thing would be to stick a titanium rod in my leg through my knee, open my knee up, stick this titanium rod down my leg, and then that would protect my yeah, I see you screaming over there. that
Yeah,
would
man.
that would protect my bones so that the chance of me breaking it again wouldn't come back. So I'm in pain. I'm frustrated. I don't know what to do. So I just hear your leg won't break again, and I'm like, okay, give me the titanium rod. So I really didn't have a choice. I was literally like, well, what am I going to do? So I chose the titanium rod, and it was supposed to stay in there forever. And I'm sorry, man. I'm giving you like the longest winded answers, but I
No,
have
I was gonna say, man, look, so this is capturing the game. So one of the things that we love doing is capturing those stories. So please, like, go ahead and be detailed as much as possible because this is all stuff that people don't know behind the scenes that can
right,
happen. So
right.
be comfortable with sharing your story. So go ahead and say, don't even worry about being long-winded or not. I'm entertained. Our guests, our audience will be entertained, and especially because the fact that they're hearing stuff, they're hearing the realness about some of the stuff that can possibly happen. We always plan for what we believe is going to happen. So once this
Exactly.
happens, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. But
Exactly.
we never know what can possibly happen. So you sharing your story, I think so far is one of the first stories that I feel like people are really going to gravitate to because this is good stuff right now. So don't be afraid to share. Don't feel bad about being long-winded. You're also just keep going.
Okay, so let me finish this then. So they put the titanium rod in. Um, they offered me a new contract. I start rehabbing. Everything's okay. But the situation comes up where the physiotherapist that we were using was not sanctioned by the team. Not exactly. It was someone from the hospital. Um, but she was great, and everything was going great at first, and then um, as the months went on, the team saw that I was making improvements. So from what I heard later, they were trying to get me to get better quicker so that maybe I could play in the playoffs. Because like I said, this was like 2 months into the season. So I had literally like 8 more months before the playoffs started. And the what happened was the team doctor and the physio got into it because she was on a more cautious approach. Like, okay, I'll have him ready by next season, but not at the end of this year. And there was some beefing going on behind the scenes with it. I didn't know. Next thing I know, I'm at my therapist, and she says, "Okay, this is the last time we're going to meet because they've pulled me off of you." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, they've decided to use someone else." Unbeknownst to me, that someone else would be my Yugoslavian assistant coach. So they pulled me off of a trained, licensed therapist, put me in the hands of a Yugoslavian old school basketball coach for my therapy. It was disastrous. It was. I could go on and on about this,
It sounds
but
disastrous, man.
but you gotta understand that I was a 22-year-old kid. You know,
Right, right,
I
right,
didn't know anything about getting second opinions, or anything like that. And that's also what I write about in the book as well. Like, what happens if you're injured? And I throughout the book, I put these stories in that happened to me, and that this story, what I'm telling right now, is also in the book. So to make a long story short, the rehab didn't go as, as efficiently as we had hoped. I did make it back to the end of the season. Um, I stayed the summer through, rehabbed, and I would say by the start of my second season, I was about 70%, man. I would maybe 65% of
Mhm.
what I was. Mentally, I was lower than that. I just didn't realize it at the time. I just wanted to play. I was just so glad that I could pick up a ball and go to the gym and shoot and run and jump somehow. So to end the story, um, I played my second season and I play horrible by my standards, by a foreigner's standards, a team's standards for an American player. I played terrible. I think I averaged like 16 points a game, and this on one leg. Like, I was horrible, um, and I was seriously worried about what am I going to do next. Like,
Yeah,
no team is going to want me after I play like crap. It's on video. Like, there's no, my lateral movement was not there. My jumping ability was not there. And that was one of my strengths. So I was just crap. Right. So my agent is like, okay, look, they're offering you another deal. So mind you, I was making $1,200 a month plus 2 meals a day. Right.
yeah,
Doesn't sound like a lot, but it wasn't bad back then. So um, they're like, my agent's like, they're offering you another deal. I think you should take it. Basically, that was his way of saying, dog, you stunk it up. Like, I'm not gonna be able to get you another job, right?
yeah,
So I ended up taking it, played my at then in my the start of my third season, the very first day of practice, we're out there running. And the whole time I played my whole second season in a lot of pain. My leg was swollen. And I'm telling you, I knew nothing. I didn't know that I could go to another doctor. I just trusted the team doctor. Right?
mm,
Telling the team doctor, hey, my leg is still swollen. I'm having pain. It's like, here, ibuprofen, take it. Trying to, you know,
of course.
this is back in '95, man. I don't think that would happen today, but back then it was a different condition than it is now. So the first practice of my third season, we're on the track, preseason, normal, like sweating, running around the track, 2 hours long almost. And at the very end of practice, I collapsed. I started to have a really bad shooting pain coming up my whole left side, and like I broke down. And they had to call the ambulance and everything, and they took me to the hospital. And what I know now, what I didn't know back then, and had I gotten a second opinion, I would have understood. I found out two things that day. The first thing I learned was I had a stress fracture before I originally broke my leg. I had not a stress fracture, a hairline fracture. They went back and looked at my X-rays from my very first time when I went to the doctor after hurting my leg. Someone had fallen on it in practice, and yeah, you not. This is my first year over. I don't know anything. I go to the doctor. They take X-rays. They say it's negative. I say, okay, cool. I keep practicing, keep playing. We're running outside, up mountains, down mountains, in the rain, everything. My leg is killing me, but I have a pretty high pain threshold, and you don't want to let the team down. You don't want to seem like a punk, basically.
Right.
And um, like 2 weeks later is when I broke my leg. So fast forward to my third year, they rushed me to the hospital. So I find out that originally there was a hairline fracture that the doctor did not see. If I had taken 10 days off, 2 weeks off, I would have been fine. Okay, can't do anything about it now. The second thing I learned was that my whole second season, I played under immense pain because my body was rejecting the titanium rod that was in my leg.
Oh
It
man.
was rejecting the metal.
Yeah.
So here's another part to it. Not only did I had like in your leg they drilled in, they put the titanium rod, they fixed it with two screws at the top close to my knee and two at the bottom on my ankle, right?
Right.
One of those screws at the top had broken. So it was scratching against my bone.
Oh
So,
man.
so this they see in the X-ray before they operate now my third season. And basically they figured out that my body was rejecting the metal, and that the nail was a nail broken and was scratching the bone. So I played my whole second season under incredible pain because my body was rejecting the metal. So they take everything out, fine, sew me back up. 2 weeks later, once the scar heals, or the wound heals from the operation, um, I'm good to go. Then I played like a half god the rest of the season, and I was pretty much back to normal after that. My body just had to recover from that, and everything was fine. And since then, I never had one single problem with my leg.
Wow.
So that was my first 3 years. I played another 10 more years.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know what to say about that. Oh,
I-
that's
it was a nightmare. If looking back on it, it was a nightmare, and that's also part of the reason why I wrote the book, because I realized a lot of these things later. And had I had someone to really school me, had I had an old head to tell me, "Hey, Sean, you can go to another doctor,"
right.
then a lot of what I went through would have been easily resolved. If I had gone to another doctor the first time I broke my leg, or the first time, sorry, the first time I hurt my leg in practice when the guy fell on it. If I had gone to another doctor, maybe that other doctor would have seen that hairline fracture, and
Right.
I would have been fine after that. But I'm 22. I don't know anything. I listen to the coach. I listen to the team doctor, and look what happens. Okay, but like I said, out of a negative came the positive.
Absolutely. Dang, that's just yeah, you're the first person that we've brought on capturing the game that has went through like an injury. At least we've talked about it. So man, thank you
Uh,
for at least sharing that story. That's definitely a lot of an incredible story. Like I can't imagine that just the sheer amount of pain that you went through, the fact that the your body was rejecting the rod, the fact that
Crazy.
you had the fact that you had the 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 two nails rubbing against each other. Yeah, the minute you start talking about inserting that titanium rod, I had the Peter Griffin look like about my knee, just like
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh my goodness.
not good.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right. So, what was some of the hardest things or hardest part about being away throughout this whole time? Like, so you was I believe you came from the U.S. and then you
Yeah,
went over to Australia and
Austria.
Austria. I keep saying Australia, but Austria, and you pretty much never really looked back. What was the hardest part about being away?
I am by nature very open, and I'm not the homesick type. Even when I went away to college, I started out at the University of Arizona, then I transferred, ended up at Southern Utah University, where I played my final 2 years, and then I came over to Austria. I was never homesick. I missed back then. It was a different time, man. Like 90, you gotta think. This is how old I am. 1995, very beginnings of internet, like no email. I was writing home. I was like pen and paper writing home.
Oh man.
Um, my first phone bill was like $700 because I didn't know how long I could be on the phone.
Yeah.
Great, that's also things that you don't know when you're a 22-year old kid and you come over. I didn't miss, and I still don't miss America as far as missing home. Um, what I missed back then was food. I missed like restaurants and American food, which now I don't miss at all or hardly any. Um, I missed being able to buy clothes, and I missed music. That was the big one, music. I had those big CD, those those big
Oh yeah.
black CD things with like 100, no, not even 100, like 400 CDs in it.
You just flip
So
through them. Yep.
exactly. So you got to think this is 1995. There was no Skype, there was no Zoom, there was no FaceTime, there was no Sling box for to watch American TV. I'm over here in Austria or over there in Austria watching German, everything in German. No, 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 no subtitles. I was watching The Simpsons, and truthfully, that's how I started to learn German because I was watching The Simpsons, and there's no subtitles here in Germany. So Austria uses German TV, and
Okay.
there's no subtitles. So I had already seen. I was a huge Simpsons fan, so I had already seen all the episodes that were playing currently in Austria. And so I knew what they were talking about. And that's how I very first started to learn German because I could understand or piece together what the words were based on the show because I'd already seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the things that were totally new for me. And like I said, this was the start of the very beginning of the internet age. So a lot of people were not fluent in English like it is now. The internet
Right.
has really helped people learn English because they're chatting with people all around the world. But back
Mm-hmm.
then, in the little town that I was in, I think there's maybe 15,000 people. Nobody spoke English. I was fortunate enough to have two teammates that had been over there, two American teammates that had been over there for a while, and they both spoke German to some effect. And they hearing them speak also helped because out from their American accent, it wasn't like the German accent.
Right.
So I could kind of understand what they were saying, and then it just picked up quick. But really, like I was like in the Stone Age compared to
Oh
now.
man, yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine, and I've always often heard that a lot of people, whether from a different country or whatnot, when they learning another language, they're often watching some of their either favorite TV shows, it's TV shows, in a different language, and that's also helped them,
Yeah,
learn that particular language at the time. Like I have and I spent a kind of like a year or two in Mexico, and some of the
mhm.
people in Mexico say, "Yeah, I learned English by watching, the Fresh Prince of Bel Air." I was like, "Well, ain't that something?" So it's always fun, at least from my perspective, to hear about the shows that people watch to help them learn another language.
Yeah, back then it was crazy. Like I was watching The Simpsons. I was like watching Friends or stuff like that. That they showed all of these shows, but there was no subtitles.
Right.
So you were like, huh? What did he say? What was that word? I got to write that one down. Okay, nine means no. Is literally like just like that. There was no apps to help me out. It was just me and solo dolo listening to stuff on TV.
Oh man, what's some of the do's and don'ts for athletes playing overseas?
Let's go with do's. Do be open. Do be be open for new experiences, and really for the Americans, I really stress that they are able to adapt. That's the biggest thing that I tell everyone. Europe is not home. Europe is not going to change for you because you miss America. No, no. You have to indulge in the culture. You have to immerse yourself in also the language, even if you're going to stay there only for 1 year. There's no need to speak fluently, like I speak German fluent now, but there's a certain amount of respect or a different level of respect that you get when you try to speak the language in the country that you're at. If you go to the bakery and order something, if you go to a McDonald's, for example, and order something. It's sometimes the same thing but in a different name, and you can't be ignorant and expect everyone to be able to speak to you in English. Sometimes it's not like that. Some guys are playing in cities that are smaller than the one that I played in, and now maybe it's a little bit easier, but there's a level of respect that you bring forth to the place that you're at if you try to learn a little bit of what they're trying to say. The thing is with European contracts is that they rarely go over 1 year or 1+1. Um, but that means that you might be in England 1 year, you might be in France 1 year, and the next year you're in Spain. So you feel like it's kind of a waste to learn a language when you might not be there. Understandable point, but really it's worth your while to immerse yourself in the culture wherever you're at, to travel, to experience a lot of different things. On the don't side, it's the same. Don't be ignorant. Don't think that Europe is America. There's a standard of living that's different over here. For example, your apartment may not be the same as the style you're used to back home. You can't be moaning and complaining about that. It's very difficult for teams to find apartments sometimes. So sometimes they kind of have to take what they can get at a last minute. For example, your car may not be as big as as big as you think. I'm 6'8". I was driving around in a little Ford Ka, or a what was the Renault Twingo, which is like really small. I'm 6'8", man, but that came with the sponsorship of the team when I was in France, and that's what I got. So, it's you kind of gotta be able to roll with the punches.
Understood. Yeah, my brother is significantly taller and bigger than me, so every time he got out his car, I'm like, dude, you need to get a truck. So you're taller than him, and the fact that you had to get out a smaller car than he did, I can only imagine.
Yeah, the thing is that what a lot of people don't realize is these teams have sponsorships through these car dealerships, and they have to pay taxes on the cars. It's not like they just give the car for free. The
Right.
teams actually pay taxes on the type of car you have, and the more expensive, or the more horsepower, for example, that it has, means the team has to pay more taxes. You're not paying that, but the team is paying that. So if they have a sponsorship deal with BMW, for example, then maybe you have a really nice car. But if they have a sponsorship with Renault Twingo, and they give this dealership gives you Twingos, that's what you'll be driving. You won't have a whole lot of say in the matter. So you kind of have to roll with the punches, and be able to adapt and say, okay, this is maybe not the car that I would have bought, or
Right.
that I would like to be riding around in. But hey, you're not paying for the taxes. You're not paying for a car note. You're not paying for anything pretty much except gas. So
Yeah.
not paying for insurance. So you kind of got to live with it.
Look, I'll live with it. I can look, it can give me to point A to point B. Only
That's
thing I
how I
know,
am.
yeah, I'm good with it. What's some countries, for people that are looking to play overseas, where are some countries that people should try to target or avoid?
Um, that really depends on your level of talent, or especially what it has more to do with is the connections that your agent has.
Hmm.
That's the probably single biggest factor in where you will be placed. It's not like you're going to say, okay, I want to go to Spain, and you're going to get a job in Spain. Spain is an incredibly hard market to get into, and they pay a lot. You know, they are very demanding for those players that they get paid a lot. For example, where I was in Austria, Austria is not the biggest country. They don't have a whole lot of money for basketball. Basketball is very much a fringe sport. It's not the most dominant sport like in America. Not even in the top 10, I would say. But um, the people are very friendly, and they do what they can. You know, so it just really depends on the market that your agent sees you playing in, and where you how much money you're going to make, things like that, or actually how much money you can make that agent. and it depends. Like the top countries are usually like Spain, Greece, Italy, Russia pays very well, Turkey pays very well. Um, the you would think the bigger the country, the more you're going to make, but that's not entirely true. There's a lot of other factors involved, like you might play in Spanish second league and make more money than a guy playing in the German first league. So there's different levels, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. And just because you made one amount of money the first year doesn't mean you're going to make that or more the next year. It's an incredibly hard market period, especially for American players, because now playing overseas is a little bit in vogue. It's like guys are hitting me up all the time, like, how can I get over there? I got 18-year-olds hitting me up, like, how can I get over there? I'm like, yo, it's not that easy. You can't just get a passport and expect to show up and people want you. Um, but on the flip side, you don't have to go to University of North Carolina to get a job over here. I went to a mid-major Southern Utah University. I was a pretty decent college player, but I wasn't a top level guy. I played for 13 years. I made pretty good money. So it's not like you have to be at a top level D1 or something like that to get a job over here. A lot depends on finding that right agent to help you get over here.
What was your relationship like between you and your agent?
Um, Again, man, I really have to say for my whole career, I was very fortunate. I
Yeah.
don't have any of the horror stories um, that a lot of players go through with their agents or teams going bankrupt during the season or them not getting their money on time. I was incredibly fortunate. I only have one story where my team in Portugal um, owed me about good 20,000 euros when I left. But the league is such that they have to pay off their debts before they can start the new season. So I was pretty sure I was going to get my money. I got it all in one lump sum a couple of weeks later, and everything was good. So again, I was fortunate. Um, my agent, my first agent, was an Italian guy, and he was a pretty high powered guy. Our plan was for me to go over to Italy and play in Italy. But I came out during the 95 NBA lockout, the very first NBA lockout, and everything shut down. I knew I wasn't going to get drafted, but I was hoping to go on a summer league team, play a little bit, and then head over to Italy. We got actually a contract from a team in Italy, but then as the lockout dragged on, what are they going to choose? A 22-year-old unknown guy or the possibility of maybe getting a fringe NBA guy that is tired of waiting because of the lockout? So they kind of put me on hold. And I am a very impatient person by nature. So I was pretty much like, hey, get me over there. I just want to play. It was like September. I was like willing my thumbs. Everybody's going back to school, stuff like that. I'm in my girlfriend at the time in her apartment, just chilling, working out where I could. And he said, okay, well, this team from Austria has been contacting me like crazy, but the money's horrible compared to what the offer was from the team in Italy. It was not even close. The offer I had on the table from Italy was just I, I would say 10 times more than what I got
Oh,
in
bad.
Austria my first year. But I was like, you know what? I don't care. I just want to play. So then we came up with the idea, okay, this team in Austria, they're playing in the European Cup. You put up good stats, you're going to put up good numbers, and then we'll get you out of there. And that was the plan. So my thing with my agent went very well. My experience with my first agent went very well. I ended up not using him anymore because I ended up staying in Austria longer. So I knew Austria's limits, I knew the salaries, and I didn't really need him to negotiate my contracts anymore.
Right.
Um, then I ended up leaving after my fifth season, and I hired another agent, and I had also a really good guy. So I was pretty fortunate, and but that's a really big key, like how good you are with your agent and their connections. So that's really important for all Americans to know.
What was your process like in finding the agent, the second agent that you had?
Well, that was easy. My experience with agents was incredible because coming out of college, I had a choice. I didn't have to look for my agent. There's a lot of guys that hit me up now that don't have agents, and they're like, "How do I get an agent? How do I find an agent?" And I helped them out. I wrote about it in the book as well. And so I had like 6 or 7 agents that I could choose from. I ended up choosing Massimo Rizzo, and everything went well from there. When I decided to leave Austria because I had by that time it was my 5th season in Austria. I had changed my citizenship. I'm no longer an American citizen. I'm an Austrian citizen. And at that time, it was beneficial for me to be an Austrian citizen or a EU citizen, because then I could go play anywhere as a European player. I wouldn't take up an American spot. So literally back then it was like you could have two foreigners. So it
Right.
was I could go my next year. I went to France when I got the passport. I could play as a French player. Basically, we could still have 2 other Americans. I wouldn't be taking one of those spots. So that was very beneficial for me. So when my second agent, I had a name by then. I had done work in Austria. I had um, put up pretty good stats. I was a vet, and I was very well liked everywhere I was. So finding an agent then wasn't hard. I basically asked one of my friends how's his agent, and he told me, okay, this guy is good. And then I called him up, and because I already had a reputation, it was like, okay, I'll look for you for something. Let's sign the contract, and then let's get you somewhere else.
That's awesome. So I'm glad that you had, a really good experience with different agents, with the two different agents that you had.
Yeah, but I know and that was also a part of me writing the book, because I know a lot of guys and girls, they weren't as fortunate as me, or they aren't as fortunate as me, the ones that are coming out now. And a lot of them don't have agents, and they really want to know how to find an agent if they're not one of those players where agents seek them out. And that's part of the information that I give in the book as well.
Absolutely. What was your favorite country that you played in?
Oh, that's tough. I played, okay, let's go through it. I played in Austria for 5 years. Really liked it there, had a great time. Um, then I went to France for a year. Then I went to Portugal for a year. I would say Portugal was the place that I liked it, but it wasn't as professional as what I was used to, especially in France. Like I said, they owed me a lot of money when I left, so I wasn't too pleased with that. So after I left Portugal, I came to Germany the first time. I played 1 season here. Then I left and went to Switzerland. No, England. No, then I went to England. I played 1 year in England, and then I came back to Germany. I've been here ever since. I think 2006. I came back to Germany. I would say my favorite country is Germany, because I'm fluent in German, so it makes life much easier for me. Um, but I really liked France. I was living right outside of Paris, and I mean, living in Paris is great. I played in some really cool places. I got to live in places where everybody vacations, So I really like the French league. I really like living in Paris. But I would say for me personally, Germany is my favorite place that I ever played.
Okay, okay. I have a feeling that he was gonna lean that way, but I still wanted to ask to figure out. What made you fall in love with Germany?
Well, by the time I came over to Germany, I had been in countries that spoke German for a long time. So I was in Austria for 5 years. By the time I left Austria, I was fluent in German. I also lived in Switzerland. Where I played was in Geneva, but I was also living in Zurich. So they speak French in Geneva, but they speak German in Zurich. And for me, being in Germany was good because it's ultra professional. Over the years, they've made so many changes and structural changes in the league, and the arenas have to have a certain amount of spectators. They're not playing in school gyms anymore, like it was back in the day. They're playing in arenas. So they've made a lot of changes, a lot of things to make it very, very ultra professional here in Germany. And here you don't have the stories about guys not getting paid on time. You don't hear stories about bankruptcy. And because of that, that was very important to me to have some kind of structure and some kind of safe feeling. And like I said, I never had any problems here. I never experienced anything bad here. So, and I could speak the language. That for sure made it a lot easier for me as well.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Anytime you know the language of the country that you're in is definitely extremely helpful because people probably don't. People still probably look at you as like, oh wow, he's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
I bet. uh, so what was your like when we was an athlete? What were like your day to day? What does it look like? Because I'm curious to like what I'm trying to get to is like what are some of the activities that or things that people should pick up on or athletes should pick up on while they're overseas?
Well, I mean, especially at the beginning, you're going to practice a lot. You're going to practice like 2, 3 times. So basically, a normal day would be morning practice. Usually a lighter practice, shooting, technical work, a lot of ball handling, a lot of shooting, a lot of tactical things. Then you probably go to the weight room after that, or you have a session of running or something like that. Then you've pretty much got, after lunch, you've pretty much got a lot of time, downtime, where you can chill, do what you want, sleep, relax. And then in the evening, sometime, then you've probably got another session of practice with the whole team, and this every day. So what you have to realize is that once you come over here, it's your job. You may not be going 9 to 5, but you're still putting in a lot of hours. You've got maybe a 3 hour session in the morning, then you got weights, or 2 hour session plus weights plus running. Then you got a break time. Then you got in the evening, you got another 2 to 3 hours of team practice, and this every day. So it's very taxing on your body. You have to learn how to take care of your body. You have to eat better. You have to eat right. To put up with the demands that are on your body now. So it's not like when you're in college, like you practice 1 time a day. Nah, you're practicing 2 to 3 times a day, every day for 10 months. And what I would suggest for a lot of athletes when they come over is that they have something else to do, because you do have a lot of downtime traveling on buses, going to games. You have really a lot of time for yourself. And if you don't keep yourself busy, it can be mentally taxing to be away from home. It can be mentally taxing if, let's say, you're not playing well, you got a lot of pressure on you, or the team is not doing well. Everybody's focused on you because you're the American, or you're one of the Americans, you're one of the foreigners. So you've got a lot of pressure on your head anyway to perform. And that can get to a lot of people. So I would suggest that you have something as an outlet, something outside of basketball, whether that be going into the city sometimes, or traveling, or going to a museum, or finding an interest that you connect with. For me, it was writing. Like, I wrote the book like 14 years ago, during my downtime. I didn't get it published back then. I put it on the back shelf, and then I revisited it in 2020 and really finished it, updated it, and brought it out. Self-published it myself, and did that. So that was kind of my outlet. I also have a family, so now it was different once I had a family, that I had that to take the monotony of being away from home and stuff like that as well. But the average American player is not going to have a family over there, so they have to find something else to do.
What what made you because after you got done playing you went into coaching if I'm mistaken,
Right.
correct? Right. So what made you like transition to doing that?
Okay. This is a funny story too.
Okay.
This is a not normal story. Okay. So my last year of playing, we were in the first league in Germany. I was playing in a city called Jena. We had just moved up from this. I was on the team that moved up from the second league to the first. I knew
Okay.
that was going to be my last season. I wanted to play one more season in the top league. They call it the Bundesliga out here, and I wanted to play one more year. I was 35 years old. I
Hmm.
I wanted to have my last hurrah. Okay, so we didn't have a whole lot of money. Right,
Right.
our budget wasn't nearly as much as the other teams in the league, and we were bad. no sugarcoating it. We were terrible. We had won 2 games, and halfway through the season, we had won 2 games. The team comes to me. The manager comes to me one day and says, "Hey, we want you to be the head coach. We're going to fire the guy. His name was Bjorn. We're going to fire Bjorn, and we want you to be head coach." Now, the backstory to that is I knew that was going to be I was going to retire after that year anyway, and I
Yeah.
was due to come on the staff as an assistant coach with Bjorn as the head coach. That
Okay.
was the plan, right?
Right.
So we stink. So coaches are hired to be fired. That's the saying, right? We're
Yeah.
not very good. We don't have very much money. They don't have enough money to fire the one coach and bring in another coach. They don't have the money for that. So I had a pretty good standing, and everybody knew that I wanted to be a coach. I was the old head on the team. I was the guy
Right.
that got everything done and organized stuff, and everybody knew that I wanted to coach anyway. That was what I wanted to do. That was my transition. And so the coach comes to me, not the coach, the manager comes to me and says, "Hey, we want you to be a head coach." I'm like, crazy? No. Mind you, mind you, I had never coached on any level. Not I had never coached except for in summer camps, right?
Right.
So I said no right away, like, nah, I'm not doing it. About 2 weeks go by, and they're hounding me. They're on me, like, come on, we want you to be the coach. And I've got to keep this a secret, right? Bjorn has grown into one of my friends now. So it was
Right.
kind of a really messed up situation. I can't go to him and say they're about to fire you.
Yeah.
Um, so I have to keep it for myself. So I had a talk with my brother once during that 2 week span, and he's like, "Sean, you want to coach. You want to be a head coach one day. Do it. You have no pressure on your head. You guys stink anyway." Um, it was pretty sure that we were going to be relegated to the back into the second league. I had literally no pressure to win any games.
Right.
We were terrible. So my brother talked me into it, actually, and um, after one game, I told him okay that I would do it. We had to wait one more week, and that was tough. I had to practice knowing that soon I was going to be the head coach. I had to practice and play one last game. That last game was in a city called Bonn. Very good team. We lose the game. I had probably my best game of the season. I gave like everything,
Yeah.
and I cried after the game because I knew my career was over. It was very emotional for me. But nobody knew why I was crying in the locker room.
Right.
So the next day, it's like, "Sean, you're the head coach." We like go into practice, and some of the players had kind of figured out what was going on, and there was rumors and stuff, but nobody really knew. So I walk into practice as head coach with with the same guys I had been partying with, I had been playing with, I had been talking crap in the locker room with. Looking back on it, not ideal.
Right.
Not an ideal start to my coaching career, but in the end, it was exactly what I needed because it really showed me that that's what I wanted to do. So I coached the last 15 games of the season. Until that point, we had only won 2 games. With me, we won 3. It wasn't enough. We moved back down into the second league, and that was the end of the story. So I ended up staying on as coach for the next year as we moved back down. Um, and but truthfully, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to be a head coach. I know that now. I gave it my all. I really put everything into it, but I wasn't ready to be a head coach. I should have gone the assistant coach route and earned my stripes and done it that way. But for me, it worked out pretty good, and I ended up coaching another 8 years, a total of 9 years, and I enjoyed myself, and I thoroughly enjoyed coaching. It was just what I wanted to do.
Got you. I was gonna say, what made you love coaching so much?
Well, I always wanted to coach. That was the thing. I mean, I played a long time, but even when I was younger, I wanted to coach. That was my goal. And I loved being on the sideline. I loved interacting with the guys. I loved the X's and O's. I even loved watching video and breaking stuff down. I loved writing scouting reports. That was one of my favorite things to do, to break the opposing team down and do scouting and things like that. I really loved that. What was for me personally tough was coaches are hired to be fired. And yeah, I got fired,
Yeah.
and so then I had to move. Then I got to move the family. I've got to go to another city, and then of course coaching is a 24-hour thing. You're not just switching it off after you leave the gym. So after you
Yeah.
have practice, you've got to think about the next practice. After a game, you've got to think about the next opponent. You've got to actually in advance. You're thinking about stuff. So my brain never cut off from coaching. It was always the next practice, the next game, the next scouting players for the next season, things like that. So that was tough for me. It was tough for my family that I was gone a lot, and that was one of the reasons why I, in the end, stopped coaching because after my contract was up, where I live now, I was here for 3 years, and I had an opportunity to coach again in the first league as an assistant with one of my best friends. But I would have had to move to the south of Germany, and I wasn't going to leave my family. I didn't want to move them again. My kids had started school, and it's just not the lifestyle that I wanted from my family. And of course, as a family father, I didn't want to move 6 hours, 7 hours away from my family and have them stay here. So it was like, okay, well, let me do something for the family and look for something else, and that's what I did. I was lucky enough to get the job that I got, and yeah, and that was my decision why I left coaching.
Man. Um, that's tough.
Yeah.
Man, that's tough. What's one thing that you missed about playing?
Oh man, I'm the same thing about missing coaching and playing. It's the same. I miss game days.
Yeah.
I miss. I'm an ultra competitive person. Even when I play my daughter, we were playing board games today, and I hate losing. And she beat me, by the way. Um,
What
so
board game were you playing?
I in German it's called Mensch ärgere dich nicht, and I think in back home they call it sorry.
Okay. Okay.
And so I'm ultra competitive. So I miss game days. I miss the excitement of prepping for a game day. I miss being on the sideline as a coach. I miss playing in front of the fans as a player. I miss the adrenaline, like playing in front of people and stuff like that. I miss the camaraderie of locker room talk, even the long bus rides, things like that. I miss, but actually, to be honest, after I stopped coaching, I took a break where I didn't watch anything. I didn't go to any games. There's a professional team here where I live. I went to no games. I didn't watch it on TV, of course. Watching NBA on over here, there's a big time difference, so I'm watching games at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have
Right.
league pass or anything like that. So
Right. Right. Right.
so so I really took a step back, and I'm like one of those all or nothing people. So if I'm not doing it, I'm not watching it. And it took a couple of years before I could really get back into the game. And now I'm back. I talk to my friends that are still coaching or some of my former players, and I go to games and again and things like that. So I'm back in it some way. But for a while I couldn't even watch it.
I understand that. Well, I played baseball when I was in college. And I played it for 2 years, and after I was done, I was like, I can't really watch it for the time being here, and I just kind of stayed away from it. Like I'll
Yeah.
never, I'll look at the field, because on campus, and I'll look at it like, yeah, I'm not going down there. And it wasn't really until like a couple years later, I'm like, all right, I could ease my way back into it.
Right. Right. You still have love for it,
Yeah.
but it's just, after a 13-year playing career, another 9 years of coaching, not to mention high school, all the high school games, all the AAU games, all the college games, stuff like that. I mean, I've been playing like really focused on basketball since I'm 11 years old. So I played it a long time, and I even though when I walked away and I couldn't watch it, I still had love for the game, but I just needed a little break.
Yeah. What was your game day routines as a player and a coach?
Oh yeah, I was very superstitious, and like I was the wear the same socks until you lose type of dude. Um, I would I always had two pairs of shoes with me. If I played like crap in the first time, in the first half, you can guarantee that I had on another pair in the second half. Um, but my game day routine was pretty much the same. You usually have a walkthrough in the morning, where you go and practice a little bit for an hour or so, just walking through the plays, things like that. Then you go home, relax a little bit, eat. I'll usually ate the same thing like French toast or steak or something like that, noodles for sure. Then I would start slowly getting myself ready. I started listening to music in the background, and doing stuff around the house to keep busy. Then once I left the house to go to the game, I was like a different person. I'm
Yeah.
like I'm like the most chill dude. Like away from the court, I'm like the most chill guy. Like nothing stresses me. I'm not.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel
I,
like.
hey, I am like so chill, right? My mother even told me, Sean, I don't know who you are when I watch you play. It's like soon as I walk out the door, it's like a totally different person. Then I'm like all hyper and crazy, right? And so once I walk out the door, I get in the car, I got my music blasting, and I get to the arena, and it's pretty much the same thing. Just same routine. Warm up, go outside, get some shots up before anybody gets there. Get there really early, get some shots up, go back in, change into my game day stuff, same routine, stuff like that. And when those lights come on, then I was ready. I was there.
No, that's awesome. I was like wondering, like, man, yo, he's like super chill, down to earth right now. But I knew that once you probably stepped on the court, it's a whole different person. It's a
Yeah, yeah,
whole
yeah,
different Sean I'm talking to.
yeah. And then okay, and then so after playing in front of 5,000 people or whatever, how many thousand people there are in the stands,
Right.
you got to come down. Like you have to like calm down. So it was pretty much after the game. I'm still hyped. I'm still you know everything. And so then I have to listen to jazz. I got a really deep love for jazz. So I needed the jazz to bring me down from all the hip hop, all the rap that I had blaring for the whole day. Then I needed that opposite, the jazz, to calm me down. And usually on my way home, then that would be the way I would come down after the game.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Um, what's one thing if you could change one thing about your overseas basketball career, what would it be?
Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely. Even me breaking my leg, man. I say it to everybody all the time. I
Yeah,
was fortunate. I was really, really blessed and fortunate that I didn't have any problems. I lived a pretty good life as a pro, and I would change nothing. I would go through the broken leg. Maybe if I was smart enough, I would have gotten a second opinion. But honestly, I mean, no, I wouldn't change any. I wouldn't change anything. No, nothing.
that's awesome. What are you kind of talked about it before because you had some of your downtime that kind of made you get into writing, but I wanted to know, was that like what made you really get into writing because of your downtime and you just picked up a hobby from your downtime that you had?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm one of those people that is horrible in math. You ask me what 2 plus 2 is, and I'll be sitting there like. But with languages or writing or stuff like that, I've always enjoyed. So I just realized that I could, in my downtime, I had to figure something out. This was before I was married and everything, and so I just started to write. And I've written a lot of stuff that I've never published, that I'll probably never publish. Um, but it was something to keep me busy, and writing this book then was an outlet for me to do something, and also to give back and help someone, and that's my main goal. And but that's why I say, as a foreigner, you got to find something to do during your downtime.
Understand, man. Look, man, it's been such a great first segment, man. I know we could continue and go on, and maybe one day later down the road, because we even look all that talking we did, we even actually talk about the game, like like that's
I'm
crazy.
sorry, man.
No, it's all good and it's so fun. Like we even talk about basketball in itself, like, and that's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's all. That's it. Hey, name of my book, same name, different game. It's a totally different game over here.
That's crazy.
We might
So
have to do another episode and just talk about basketball.
we just might at this rate, but so I gotta ask now. So
But
how was or how is like the competition over there compared to what it is over here in the US?
This is not 1992,
Yeah,
not Dream Team dominating the world. Americans have definitely been caught by everyone else in the world, and you see that now in the Olympics when
yeah,
France beat the Americans. Um, look at some of the top players in the NBA right now. You got the MVP is not American,
yep,
right? You've got arguably one of the best players in Antetokounmpo. He's not American.
hmm,
You've got you've got a whole lot of players that, and also in the WNBA, that are not American born. And the trend of the NBA drafting foreign players will only continue. So over the years, even I see it from the time when I first came. It wasn't when I first came. We were as an American, you were expected to play 40 minutes, damn near, and put up astronomical numbers,
right,
or you were going to get fired.
yeah,
Now it's not so much like that. There's still pressure on Americans, but because the native players have gotten better. And speaking of Germany, the Germans, there's some really good Germans. So you don't have the same pressure that that I had back in the day to play 40 minutes. You got Americans playing 15 minutes, you know?
yeah,
So it's a different thing because the native players have gotten better. They've evolved. So everybody was watching the Dream Team and that first Dream Team, and that woke up everybody around the world. Like that is basketball. And then the coaching over here got better. It's not just bringing American coaches over here. Now native coaches, or I'm sorry, native coaches are now coaching national teams. They're coaching first division teams, where before it was pretty much a lot of Americans that came over and coached as well. So there's a huge difference over here now, than even when I played over here. That the native players have gotten very much better. Look at
yeah,
Luka Doncic. He was 16 playing in the first league for Real Madrid in one of the toughest leagues, and playing in EuroLeague, starting on a EuroLeague team when he's 16 years old. Come on, you
yeah,
know. So that just goes to show you the amount of talent that's out here, and but the game is just different over here. It's not so much one-on-one orientated. It's more um, passing, seeing the open man, cutting, like the basics of basketball.
yeah. See, look, and we that was the only thing we talked about as far as basketball, and we can just go so like further into that, and it's crazy. So yeah, we gotta do a part two in the near future one day. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and transition to our next segment, our game within the
Okay,
game podcast. We just ask rapid fire questions just to have a little fun as we close out. So my question for you is, are you ready to play?
I'm ready to play. I'm in.
All
I was
right, all
born
right.
ready.
All right, here we go. Um, chocolate chip cookies or oatmeal raisin?
Oatmeal raisin.
Okay, I'm an oatmeal person, so
Uh, Chocolate chip is a standard. You're gonna get
ooh,
that all the time. But if you got somebody that can make you oatmeal raisin cookies, that's like elite. I'm going with oatmeal raisin. If I got to choose between the two, I'm going oatmeal raisin.
okay, that's a solid choice. TV shows or movies?
Um, okay, this shows how long I've been over here. I am not a movie guy like that. I watch a lot of series, but I watch a lot of stuff on German TV.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I watch Netflix and stuff too, but I watch a lot of German TV, and I got to say I'm like watching a lot of trash TV too. So I'm watching like reality shows in German and stuff like that. I've
Oh,
been over
that
here so long that I've totally immersed myself into the culture, and because I'm fluent in German, I can watch anything over here. So when we go to the movies, we went to see Space Jam in German with my daughter. My wife and my my,
wow.
my wife and myself went to watch Space Jam in the theaters in German. So yeah, so I'm a series guy. If you talk Netflix, then I'm gonna go with the last one we binged on was Lupin or Lupin, I guess you guys would say it.
Hmm.
Uh, it's a French movie, French series, and with a lot of accolades. But that's probably the last one I watched.
Okay, okay. Yeah, for me, I think I'm a more so TV show person. So Also newsflash, like I'm a big like nerd behind the scenes as well. So like because I'm an engineer by trade, and
Okay.
so yeah, I'm a big nerd behind the scenes. But
Oh,
that
my wife gets on me. My wife gets on me when I turn on CNN. She's like, you don't need to see that. You don't need to watch all that.
right,
So I know the feeling, man.
yeah, I know growing up when my mom would have on CNN, I turn it off for her because she would just get so depressed. So like watching it, I'm like, I can't watch you watch this. Like let's go find something else to watch. All right, so a couple either or type questions. So Tracy McGrady or Vince Carter?
Ooh, that's tough. I'm gonna go. Ooh, that's really tough. I'm gonna go with Tracy. That
Okay,
dude, his skill level was incredible. It was really incredible and something to watch.
I agree. Um, a little bit more recent. CP3 or Kyrie?
Kyrie. I CP3 is one of those guys that you love to hate. I
Yeah,
respect his game. I respect what he's done in the NBA and stuff like that. But there's something just holding me back that I just can't get warm to him. And
yeah.
I love Kyrie. Um, Whatever he does off the court, or if you don't agree with his political stances or anything like that, that's another thing. But
Mhm.
his on the court he's just sick. He's sick.
Yeah, he definitely one of my favorite players to see handle the ball right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Like, um, definitely, yeah, big love for Kyrie. Um, Shaq or Hakeem Olajuwon?
Oh, come on, man. You're killing me right now. You're giving me these tough ones. I can't even shoot it right off. Shaq dominant, Hakeem just incredibly talented. I'm gonna go with dominance. I'm gonna go with Shaq.
Okay, my pick would have been Shaq as well. Like a good in shape Shaq. Like
Yeah, yeah.
no one's stopping that. So,
No, no.
okay, so now you get a chance to either build your top five in either, and you could do both in either the WNBA or NBA.
I'm gonna go with NBA. I don't know too much about WNBA, but just because I don't watch it as much. I,
Yeah,
I see the clips online and stuff, so I can't say I'm an expert on women's basketball.
that's
But
fair.
with NBA, I'm gonna go with top five. This is my team.
Yep, your team. It could be all time. It's your team. You can do whatever you want.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with at the point. I'm gonna go with. Oh, that's tough. I'm gonna go with Magic at the point. I'm gonna go with Jordan at the two. I'm gonna skip the three for a minute. I'm gonna come back to the three. At the four, I'm gonna put Tim Duncan. At the five, I'm gonna go with Shaq. And since it's my team, I'm gonna be incredibly arrogant and call me in there. This is my team.
Let's go. I'll
I'm
do.
I'm, I'm at the three. I'm at the
Let's
three.
go. I'm
I got
for
an
it.
opportunity to play with the greats. I'm putting myself in there.
I'm for it. I'm not even mad at it because once he skipped up your name, I'm like he gonna put himself in there.
Yeah, I mean, I never played in the NBA, but if it's my
Well,
team, I can make any team. I'm throwing me.
right? Why not? Look, you're not gonna lose with them people on your team anyway, so it doesn't matter.
They're gonna be subbing me out though. They're gonna be like, hey, get this guy out of here. Get him out.
Oh man. All right. Your favorite sports moment that you've seen or witnessed?
Oh, easy. For me, it was my first championship. I can't comment on somebody else's championship. I can't. I loved watching Jordan win his things like that. But for me, that's a no brainer. Like my first pro championship when I was in Austria is by far um, the highlight of my sporting career or something that I witnessed, and the circumstances surrounding it were incredible, and the team was incredible, and you just can't you can't get over your first one. I've won a
Yeah.
couple more, but that first one for me was special.
Talk a little bit about that first one because we didn't even, like I said, we didn't even talk about the basketball side thing. We just talk like around the game.
Okay, I'm gonna try to keep this one brief because I know we're running
Okay.
out of time. So to make a long story short, so I played in for that team where I first came for 4 years in Kapfenberg. Then we had a little bit of a contract dispute, and I left and went to another team in Austria where I played one season. In that one season, we won two championships. We won the cup, and
Hmm.
we won the season title, both against the team that I had played for 4 years.
Wow.
And so we win the cup in December. Like that's like the kind of tournament during the season is what it is. And now then we go on to the championship, best of five series. I think we won it in four. So I hit the shot to put us ahead to win that game. It was an and one, and this is the funny story. This is why I got to tell the story. So we're playing at my place against my former team where I thought I would stay forever,
Right.
and so emotions were high. And I drive to the basket, make the basket, and won. My crowd is going crazy. I'm going crazy. We're up. Like, I don't know, 7, 8 seconds left in the game. And I look in the crowd, and in between my crowd, there was the section for the visiting team, so my old team.
Yeah.
I look in the crowd, and of course they're booing me, but I happen to focus on one person. That was my assistant coach's wife, or my former assistant coach's wife.
Oh man.
This is the woman that fed me. She cooked for us sometimes as Americans when I was there. I knew her and her family and the coach very well. We were friends. But as I hit that shot and I'm celebrating all hype and stuff, I somehow focus on her, and she's in the crowd going, ah, ah. She's giving me the bird. Out of all the people that I could have focused my attention on, I see her and she's giving me the bird. So I put that in my mental Rolodex. I go shoot the free throw. I make the free throw. 7 seconds, game over. We win. We celebrate, stuff like that. So that's why my first championship was my favorite one, and just because it was an emotional thing that I was playing against my former team, and the circumstances surrounding
That is a beautiful story. It's
that.
hilarious, but beautiful
Oh,
story.
it was. I can't even do it justice how that moment felt.
Oh man. All right. Ooh, that's definitely we have to go down that story again next time for sure. Um uh One of the last questions you have is if you had a chance to take over any organization, who would you choose?
I'm a Spurs fan. I'm a Spurs fan, and I would take over the Spurs. I don't think I could do it as well as they're doing it, or they've done it over the last years.
Right.
But if I was the guy in charge, I would take over the Spurs because that's my team.
Nothing wrong with wanting to take over your own team, your
Yeah,
favorite team.
yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, man. Last question, but it's the hardest one of all, but yet the easiest. Where can people follow you at to kind of follow your career and get to know you on the social media streets?
I am on pretty much everything, but I'm the most active on Instagram. On Instagram, it is the handle is same underline name underline different underline game. So from the book, right? Um, and on Instagram, I'm probably the most active. I'm also on Twitter, also under same name, different game. LinkedIn, also on under same name, different game. You can buy my book online right now. Is still the pre-orders going on, where if you buy it through my website, Sean J McCaw altogether .com, you can buy it there, and I will send it out to you with a personalized signature and a bookmark. Other than that, it goes online officially on Amazon, Apple Books, other places. You can buy it there as well. Starting August 15th is the official launch date, and but you can also buy it now or anytime after on my website, seanjmccall.com. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. So everyone that's listening to Capture the Game, do us a favor. Go ahead, buy Sean's book. He already explained or talked about some of the different stories, but go ahead, just buy that book and take a nosedive on Sean's career and just the things that he has to say. For those that are listening or new to capturing the game, please follow us on Instagram. That's capturing underscore the underscore game underscore pod. On Twitter, we are CTG underscore podcast. YouTube, just punch in capturing the game podcast. On all of the your favorite podcast platforms, go ahead, punch in capturing the game. Leave a review, send us an email. It doesn't matter. We just love and appreciate all the response and all the feedback that we have thus far. Sean, once again, man, I appreciate your time. Appreciate the story.
Thank you.
We definitely got to rap again later down the road about just all the different stuff in the NBA and just basketball in general, man.
I got stories galore, man, and the people need to hear more about the the basketball stuff too.
Right. But yeah, man, Sean, just definitely appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, and like I said, anytime I can help anybody, just let me know, and then I'll be glad to answer questions on Instagram or wherever, and just let me know if I can help somebody. That's my main goal.
Absolutely.